John Aka Blay-Mieza was a Ghanaian fraudster known as the King of Fraud. He claimed to be the sole beneficiary of a secret $47 billion trust fund set up by former Ghanaian President Kwame Nkrumah. He defrauded hundreds of Americans and others out of over $200 million by promising high returns if they invested in the supposed trust fund. No investors ever received any returns, despite his repeated promises of imminent payouts. He was jailed multiple times in both the U.S. and Ghana for fraud, but managed to talk his way out of charges and death sentences. John was very skilled at talking his way out of difficult situations. In 1972, he couldn't have been in Romania as he claimed to witnesses, because records show he was in prison in Pennsylvania at that time. In 1979, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison in Ghana for fraud, but managed to bribe government officials. Former U.S. Attorney General John Mitchell, no stranger to prison himself, flew to Ghana and convinced the government to release him. In 1986, he was jailed in Ghana on charges of economic sabotage carrying the death penalty, but he was able to convince the Ghanaian authorities to let him out of Ghana once again and go to London. The supposed trust fund and subsidiary companies existed only on paper as part of John's elaborate schemes to deceive investors. He brought the Ghanaian police officer who arrested him in Ghana to work for him in London, perhaps to keep an eye on him. In London, he ran the so-called Oman Ghana Trust out of lavish offices, using brochures and fronts for fake subsidiary companies to convince investors the money was real. On multiple occasions from the late 1970s onwards, he gathered investors in London promising imminent payouts that never materialized. He continued claiming the funds would be released up until his death in Ghana in the late 1980s.